He didn't need two legs to be the best in the world. One was enough. Dirk Nowitzki is one of the best players in the history of basketball. But not only that, he had many disadvantages compared to other players at his position. He wasn't the strongest, nor could he jump the highest, but thanks to his magic, he became a lethal scorer. From winning a ring with a one-man offense against one of the best teams ever assembled, to being cheered at every away game as if he were Michael Jordan. This is the story of what many people consider to be the best European player in history, Dirk Nowitzki. It was June 19, 1987, when Dirk was born in Würzburg, in what was still West Germany. The Berlin Wall was still standing, and German society was highly polarized, but that didn't matter to Nowitzki, because to him, he only cared about being the best in any sport he could play. It was a family matter. His father, Georg Werner, was a successful handball player who reached the German elite, and his mother, Helga, was a professional basketball player. So Dirk not only had the influence, but also the genetics of two elite athletes. And so, during his early teenage years, Nowitzki was a tennis prodigy. He managed to become a ranked junior tennis player in the German youth circuit. But in order to reach his potential in a sport where you have to be extremely fast, Dirk had a problem he couldn't solve. It was, his height. Nowitzki was big, and when I say big, I mean very big. So he ended up looking at a sport where he could use that to his advantage. Of course, we're talking about basketball. So Dirk followed in his mother's footsteps and started playing, first at DGK Würzburg, where he started playing on the youth team. Logically, he got some attention, first because of his size, but also because of his skill. Holger Geschwindner is a name of great importance when talking about Nowitzki, because he was the first to notice him. The former German international player saw him play once and realized how talented Dirk was, so he made him a unique offer. With his parents' permission, Holger offered to coach him individually several times a week. The two shared a lot of time together. They worked on athleticism, jump shot, tactical drills, anything that could make Dirk a difference, and they did it extremely fast, to the point that Holger had to ask Nowitzki a question about his future. You must now decide whether you want to play against the best in the world or just stay a local hero in Germany. If you choose the latter, we will stop training immediately, because nobody can prevent that anymore. But if you want to play against the best, we have to train on a daily basis. After thinking it over, Dirk decided on the former, and Geschwindner never lied to him, because soon after, at the age of 16, Dirk joined the senior team of DJK Würzburg. It took him a year to earn a place in the starting five. It took him another year to become the team's best player, averaging 19.4 points per game in a much slower-paced basketball. And already at that point, everyone who knew him knew that his rise was unstoppable. Dirk had the opportunity to prove his worth against American players. Yes, it wasn't normal for a European teenager, but the NBA scouts knew him well enough to invite him to participate in the Nike Hoop Heroes Tour, where he could not only play, but could also outplay Charles Barkley himself. And then at the Nike Hoop Summit, where he outplayed prospects like Rashard Lewis and Al Harrington. There was no doubt that the kid would be drafted. Although he had offers from Division I colleges, Nowitzki decided to enter the draft, and his performances on American soil had not gone unnoticed. So in the 9th pick of the 1998 draft, Dirk was selected by the Milwaukee Bucks, only to be traded along with Pat Garrity for Robert Taylor to the Dallas Mavericks the same night. And although he had a difficult rookie season in which he averaged only 8.2 points in 20.4 minutes per night, he soon showed what he was made of. Dirk finished second for the Most Improved Player award in his sophomore season, and fifth the following season. 2 seasons of a real ascent in the NBA in which he averaged 17.5 and 21.8 points per game. In fact, during that third season in the league, in which the German led the Mavs along with Michael Finley, the team qualified for the playoffs for the first time in 11 years. Not only that, but they also eliminated the Utah Jazz in the first round. But even though he was exceeding all expectations, Dirk had not shown his full potential. In fact, he was still far from his ceiling. Still, Nowitzki became an NBA superstar for the first time in 2002. He was selected to the All-Star game, finished 8th in the MVP race, and was chosen to the All-NBA second team. On top of that, Dirk won the FIBA World Championship MVP during that same offseason after leading Germany to an incredible bronze medal. Nobody knew how, but that kid was capable of anything. From the low post, his patented one-legged fadeaway became his signature move. It didn't matter the context. Dirk could shoot over any defender, and the worst part was that you couldn't do anything about it. Any attempt to contest was nullified by his high release. In his prime in the NBA, he was an unstoppable player. After flirting many times with the award, Nowitzki was finally awarded the 2007 regular season MVP after averaging 24.6 points, 8.9 rebounds, and 3.4 assists with an efficiency that allowed him to become the newest member of the 50-40-90 club, a club that only scorers with elite efficiency have been able to enter. However, the Mavericks had never achieved as much success in the playoffs as they would have liked. They had reached the conference finals twice, even winning it just the year before in 2006, but they had lost in those finals to the Miami Heat of Dwayne Wade and Shaquille O'Neal in 6 games. Yes, Dirk was one of the best players of his generation, but he had yet to be able to hoist that coveted Larry O'Brien championship trophy for the Mavericks. That all changed in 1 year for the ages though, 2011. The Mavericks had won the West after beating the Oklahoma City Thunder and were the revelation of the playoffs. But the opponent they had in front of them, it would scare anyone. The Miami Heat of the Big Three awaited them in the finals in their first season in South Beach. LeBron James, Dwayne Wade, and Chris Bosh. A franchise that had already stood in the way of Dirk winning a ring, but the German would not let that happen again. Averaging 26 points and 9.7 rebounds in the finals, Dirk achieved the impossible. He managed to beat the unbeatable team in 6 games, and he was crowned the new NBA champion. A championship that immediately made him the best European player in the history of basketball. He had achieved everything. However, he wanted to do it again. But the reality was much harsher. Dirk began to suffer a slow but definitive athletic decline that kept him from repeating the feat, and the Mavericks entered a rebuilding process in which they ended up finding another European super talent to whom Nowitzki could pass the torch. Of course, we're talking about Luka Doncic. But in the meantime, Dirk was enjoying his last moments in the NBA. After announcing his retirement, the German had a farewell tour that has had very few precedents. In every hall, every fan of every franchise paid their respects to the forward. And Doc Rivers even stopped a game to give him a proper farewell, all because of the enormous legacy he had accumulated during his career. In the entire history of the NBA, there have only been 5 players who have scored more points than Dirk: LeBron James, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Karl Malone, Kobe Bryant, and Michael Jordan. But no one else has managed to do it. Not Wilt Chamberlain, not Kevin Durant, nor Shaquille O'Neal. Absolutely no one. And that's just one of the signs of his greatness. His ability to stretch the floor playing away from the hoop made him a player ahead of his time. A player who started the process that led to the three-point revolution at the end of his career. Today, any forward in the league is capable of shooting from long range. And that wouldn't be the case if the coaches hadn't seen that it paid off. Now, his ranking among the NBA's all-time leading players is a very controversial topic. While some fans place him in the top 10, others place him outside the top 20. But what do you think? Where would you rank a Hall of Fame career like Dirk Nowitzki's?